Imagine you are falling. Not toward the ground. Not toward water. You are falling toward a hole in the sky the size of Earth. A hole that has been open, screaming, and alive for at least 350 years. Your ship's hull groans. Warning lights bathe the cabin in red, and it feels almost poetic, because red is the last color you're ever going to see. You have 11 minutes before the pressure outside reaches something the human body has no word for. Welcome to the Great Red Spot. From a distance, it is one of the most beautiful things in the solar system. A swirling crimson eye set into a canvas of cream and ochre clouds, drifting silently across the face of a giant. Photographs make it look calm. Painterly. Almost peaceful. Like a brushstroke frozen in time by some cosmic artist. But something is wrong. That brushstroke is a storm. Not a storm like the ones that flood your street or knock out your power for a night. This is a storm twice the width of our entire planet, spinning without pause for centuries. Astronomers were watching this thing before the United States existed. Before the steam engine. Before humanity understood that Earth wasn't the center of anything. And it has never stopped. Not once. And here's the terrifying part. We still don't fully know why. Let's talk about scale first, because your brain cannot process this correctly the first time. If you tried to fit Earth inside the Great Red Spot, it would fit. Comfortably. With room to spare. Some measurements over the last century show the storm shrinking. But even shrunk, it could still swallow our entire planet like a coin dropped into an ocean. You would not see the edges of it from a low orbit. You would just see red. In every direction. Forever. Now picture standing, if standing were even the right word, at the center of that storm. Wind speeds inside the outer bands of the Great Red Spot have been measured at over 400 miles per hour. That is faster than the most violent tornado ever recorded on Earth. And that's just the edge. That's the part of the storm being gentle with you. But it gets worse. Jupiter isn't rock. It isn't ocean. It's gas. Hydrogen and helium, mostly. Which means there is no floor to catch you. No ground to crash into and die quickly. You don't hit bottom. You just keep falling. Deeper into a planet with no surface, while the atmosphere around you thickens like a fist slowly closing. And somewhere beneath those beautiful clouds, the rules begin to change. The deeper you go, the less this feels like a storm. And the more it feels like a trap. Here's where the physics turns from frightening into something closer to cosmic horror. As you descend past the storm and into Jupiter's deeper atmosphere, pressure builds exponentially. On Earth, one atmosphere of pressure feels like nothing. It's just standing outside on a normal day. But a few thousand feet beneath Jupiter's cloud tops, the pressure is already crushing enough to destroy anything humanity has ever built. Your spacecraft wouldn't simply explode. It would implode. The metal would fold inward under unimaginable pressure, collapsing faster than your nervous system could even understand what was happening. And this is where things change again. Temperature does something almost mocking on the way down. Near the cloud tops, it's brutally cold. Hundreds of degrees below zero. Cold enough to freeze moisture into crystals in seconds. But keep falling. And the temperature reverses. It begins to climb. And climb. Somewhere beneath the storm layer, scientists estimate temperatures reach thousands of degrees. Hot enough to glow. Hot enough to melt the very idea of a spacecraft surviving intact. So the true horror of the Great Red Spot isn't just the wind. It's that there is no depth at which you are safe. Too shallow, and the storm shreds you. Deeper, and the cold turns you to glass. Deeper still, and the heat turns you to vapor. There is no version of this fall that ends with you walking away. But that's not even the worst part. Because Jupiter has another weapon. One you can't see. One you can't brace for. And one you can't outrun. Radiation. Jupiter's magnetic field is the most powerful planetary magnetic field in our solar system. That field traps charged particles into enormous radiation belts, creating an environment so hostile that even robotic spacecraft struggle to survive inside it. NASA's Juno spacecraft was specifically designed to withstand this punishment. Its most sensitive electronics are protected inside a titanium vault, shielding them from the constant bombardment of high-energy particles. And even with that protection, Juno still receives radiation doses that would be lethal to a human within minutes. Every orbit takes another piece of the spacecraft. Its instruments slowly degrade. Its electronics slowly weaken. And yet it keeps going. Now imagine that radiation environment wrapped around a wind storm the size of a planet. Wrapped around pressure that can crush machinery. Wrapped around temperatures that eventually rise to thousands of degrees. This is not one danger. It is several different apocalypses stacked on top of each other. Wind. Pressure. Cold. Heat. Radiation. All happening in the same place. At the same time. Forever. There is no safe altitude. There is no safe angle of approach. There is no safe scenario. And here's what makes it even more unsettling. We don't actually know what's underneath. We don't know if the Great Red Spot has roots that extend hundreds of miles down into Jupiter's interior. Some scientists have wondered whether the storm reaches so deep that it is somehow anchored within the planet itself. Data from Juno suggests that the Great Red Spot's roots may extend far deeper than scientists once expected. Deep enough to challenge our understanding of how such an enormous storm can survive. Because on Earth, storms eventually tear themselves apart. They lose energy. They weaken. They disappear. But the Great Red Spot has continued spinning for centuries. We don't know with absolute certainty why. We don't know exactly what keeps feeding it. And we don't know how deep its influence really reaches. Some scientists believe it is slowly dying. The storm has been shrinking over the last century, its once enormous oval shape becoming smaller and more compact. Maybe one day it will disappear completely. Maybe within our lifetimes. Maybe centuries from now. But even a dying Great Red Spot would still be powerful enough to destroy anything humanity could send into it. And that is the part that should really sit with you. This isn't ancient history. This storm is out there right now. Tonight. Spinning exactly as you read these words. Indifferent to the fact that you exist at all. And that may be the most terrifying thing about it. Think about what that means. We spend so much time imagining threats from space as something that comes to us. An asteroid on a collision course. A solar flare reaching toward Earth. Something moving through the darkness with a destination. But the Great Red Spot doesn't have to come anywhere. It doesn't need intent. It doesn't need to aim. It has simply been sitting there, in plain sight, larger than our entire world, for longer than recorded human civilization has kept track of storms. And it would kill anything that touched it without ever knowing it did. That's the quiet terror hiding behind every photograph of Jupiter. We call it beautiful because we're looking at it from 90 million miles away. Filtered through glass. Through cameras. Through light. Through distance. Up close, beauty stops being the right word. Up close, it's just violence. Wearing the color of sunset. The universe was never built for softness. It was never designed with lungs or skin or fragile human bodies in mind. Jupiter doesn't hate us. It doesn't know we exist. And somehow, that's worse. Because the Great Red Spot isn't a monster with a purpose. It doesn't want anything. It isn't hunting us. It isn't waiting for us. It's simply physics. Doing what physics does. On a scale large enough to remind us exactly how small we really are. How temporary we are. And how breakable. Imagine looking down at the Great Red Spot from orbit one final time. From millions of miles away, it looks almost peaceful. A red oval drifting through bands of cream and gold. Beautiful. Silent. Almost alive. But now you know what you're actually looking at. A storm larger than Earth. A vortex powered by an atmosphere with no solid ground. A place where winds can race faster than the most violent storms on our planet. A place where pressure can crush machines. Where temperatures can transform from unimaginable cold to thousands of degrees of heat. Where radiation can destroy a human body before the storm itself ever touches you. And beneath it all is a mystery we still haven't solved. Why has it survived for so long? What keeps it spinning? How deep does it really go? And how much longer will it remain? Maybe one day, future astronomers will point their telescopes toward Jupiter and realize the great red spot is gone. The crimson eye that humanity watched for centuries will finally close. But until that day comes, it will continue spinning. Quietly. Violently. Without purpose. Without mercy. Without even knowing we're here. And perhaps that's the final lesson. The universe doesn't need monsters to be terrifying. It only needs physics. And sometimes, physics creates something so enormous, so powerful, and so indifferent, that all you can do is look at it from a safe distance. And remember how small you are.